just want to give you a heads up notice that for any of you concerned about recession, inflation, let me tell you, you should be right now, okay? I'm in Malibu right now, and I'm just looking at shop after shop after shop that's struggling already.
The recession is upon us. At least that's what some of the world's greatest minds believe. And real estate millionaire Grant Cardone seems to be thinking along the same lines. As the dollar constantly depreciates in value, entrepreneurs all over the world are trying to offer their words of wisdom to anyone who wants to make it out safe. At a time like this, Cardone believes that instead of letting your money collect dust and lose all value, investing it into worthwhile assets is going to give you a massive advantage, even during the worst of the recession. But how is that possible? Let's find out in today's video. Cardone's Rules of Investing. For those of you who don't know, Grant Cardone is one of the most successful men this world has ever seen. Cardone is the founder and CEO of the private real estate investment firm Cardone Capital, along with being a best-selling author and public speaker. But wait till you find out that he built his entire real estate empire right in the middle of the 2008 recession. Sounds pretty unbelievable, right? But it's true. Anyone who knows Grant knows that he is a man who can create sales out of thin air, which is exactly what he did during the 2008 recession. According to Grant, the first step to stay afloat during a recession is to change the direction of your plans. What you once thought was going to be your path to success might not work when the economic situation starts turning. For example, if you own an accounting firm that has a reputation for only working on major annual reports, with a recession, maybe you want to change your approach and start working on smaller quarterly reports to generate some more revenue and even expand your client profile. Let's say you only worked with major multinationals. Maybe in a recession, you can also explore how smaller companies can give you business. Of course, this doesn't mean that you start bending your values and doing anything for anyone. What it means is that you simply shift your work criteria a little bit to create more opportunities for yourself. Preparing for the inflation. Speaking about the real estate market, Cardone believes that a recession is a perfect time to be expanding to newer markets. Ask yourself, why don't you do business in a certain area? Then go ahead and start familiarizing yourself with it because who knows? In the process, you might find a completely new avenue for yourself. Never say never is the key here. Cardone believes that the most vulnerable parties during this inevitable recession that we're headed toward are going to be small business owners. In fact, the real estate mogul believes that businesses and entrepreneurs have already started to struggle at the onset of the recession, and things are only going downhill from here. Cardone has gone on to say that the world needs to be prepared for inflation hitting us. The millionaire himself believes that we are already in a recession, and as hard as that is to hear, that's his personal observation. In one of his vlogs, Cardone is seen standing in front of a line of shops, all of them completely empty. And if that's not a sign that the economy is struggling, we don't know what is. Expanding instead of contracting. If there's one person who knows how to navigate a recession, it's Grant Cardone. Time and again, the entrepreneur has talked about how a recession doesn't necessarily have to mean impending doom. He believes that a recession is the perfect time for business owners to expand instead of contract. But how do you do that? As a business owner who has seen the previous recession, Cardone knows that everything that the news shows us during an economic downturn is enough reason to start panicking. The thing is, once we are right in the middle of the recession, that's when the world governments are going to allow mass media to start disseminating the information. Cardone believes that everything else going on in the news right now is just a big distraction from the actual problem, the economy. The economy is problematic right now, to put it simply. With rebounds in the stock market, Cardone believes that there is going to be blood in the market very soon, and we need to be ready for when that's happening. The only way to do that is to prepare beforehand. According to him, the first step is to ignore all the bad news and focus on what's important. Cardone is a big believer in business expansion, so he thinks that the only way to survive a massive recession is to take advantage of the situation. Whether you have cash or not, whether you have credit or no credit, the one thing you can't do is to contract. The economy will always go on. In the middle of all this panic, Cardone wants the world to focus on the fact that economies will always survive. It's all a matter of time. The need to survive will always beat out the bad news of the recession. So the first thing you need to do is to stay positive and focus on staying afloat. Sure, that's not going to be easy, but what you need to focus on is how to expand your resources, even if you're terrified of taking risks. Like Elon Musk and Bill Gates, Cardone has the same advice to offer budding and seasoned entrepreneurs. He wants you to focus on what sectors, industries, and products can survive in the long run. The thing is that in a recession, weak businesses get squeezed down and taken over by their stronger competitors. That's how the disruption happens. The businessman himself is actually planning on accelerating his growth in the upcoming recession through a few simple steps that include keeping it profitable, expanding, and flourishing. Instead of looking for new opportunities, the smartest thing to do is to capitalize on your business's strengths. Of course, that might result in some changes in the way you do business, the way you approach clients, and the way your workflow operates. You need to make sure that you account and budget for any loss in opportunities and revenue while the market struggles. But the primary goal is to keep creating opportunities for yourself on your own terms. Asking the right questions. Cardone hasn't built his empire on his own. He has worked with a team of like-minded individuals who helped him grow. So at the onset of an economic downturn, the most important question that an entrepreneur can ask his team is if they think they're going to be in business next year. Whether it's your employees or your clients, it's important to bring up the objective. If the people you're working with are thinking of bankruptcy, you need to ask yourself if you want to take a risk on them. Having said that, the entrepreneur also believes that businesses fail all the time. So even if your business fails, take that as a sign to try again and come back stronger. Learn from your mistakes and give your business the best shot. Whether it's through sales, training, or investments, figure out where you're lacking and work on that. Don't make the same mistakes again and again. The truth is that a lot of people are going to give up in the recession, but the ones that are going to be successful will restructure, maybe even start new companies. The big boys restructure, in the words of Cardone himself. So sure, your business might fail, but once you start investing in yourself and your growth, you won't fail. Cardone versus the recession. The biggest lesson that we can take away from Cardone's life is how he managed to come out on top after the 2010 recession. When the economy crashed, he had 3 companies at the time, and 2 of them had a tough time staying afloat. In Cardone's own words, the 2 companies became completely useless and were making him no money. And everyone doing business with him at that time was also struggling financially. There were no formal contracts, the payout was reduced to the bare minimum, and the road ahead looked challenging. That's when Grant realized that his real estate business was here to stay, no matter where the tide goes. The real estate that he owned, even though the market was in shambles all over the world, that's what got him through the hard times. That's what kept him from going completely bankrupt. The man had been in business for years at that point, but until the recession forced him to focus on what was working, he didn't even recognize what he was doing wrong. Sure, he was investing in his real estate business, but he wasn't really giving it his all. The recession led him to understand that he was lazy, addicted to finding the easy way out. He wasn't learning about world trends, and he wasn't taking risks. And that formula was bound to fail. He saw that the only companies surviving during the recession were big names, and he decided that he wanted to be one of those very big names. Winning in a recession. While people like Grant Cardone, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos are telling people to be careful about their expenditures to stay afloat during the recession, Cardone has a slightly different approach. While he does agree with all of the people we just talked about, Cardone wants you to do more than just survive. He wants you to win. When the tide went out in 2008, Cardone knew that he was vulnerable. He had his fair share of weaknesses. The entrepreneur has been honest about how much he struggled. He was on the brink of everything. His cash accounts were worth nothing, and the stocks were plummeting. Everything that could go wrong was going wrong. But even in the midst of all that, his hard work continued. But instead of giving up, he took that as a sign to grow from the bottom up. he shifted his approach from sales to marketing and branding. And even though that was daunting since he already had a reputation in the sales industry and practically no one knew him in marketing, he still took on that risk. He challenged himself to get people to know him in every industry possible while still paying his bills. The key takeaway. At the end of the day, Grant Cardone believes that terms like recession, good economy, or bad economy are just buzzwords. Real entrepreneurs aren't supposed to focus on any of that. The truth is that companies and industries go out of business all the time. The key to surviving in any kind of economy is to scale your business and offer your customers what they want. So instead of getting lost in traditional approaches, the key to survival in a recession, or the key to survival in the business world in general, is to stay on top of your game and invest in the right marketing, branding, and expansion strategies. So, instead of waiting for the storm, Cardone wants people to start making some sunshine while there is sunshine. And that's how you're going to be ready to take on any kind of economic downturn. At the end of the day, there's always something or the other that stops you from reaching your financial goals. But having billionaires giving out advice that helps people like us in tough times like the one we're in right now brightens up our day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for sticking around till the end. We'll see you in the next one.